over a year of threatening to sell her condo. It, and she underlined it twice, will go on the market in July, so I think we're pretty determined on that. But Peggy will be gone most of the summer, joyfully taking care of her newest grandson. Speaking for 8 to 10 minutes with the title of Oh, the Places You Will Go, please welcome Peggy Jondahl.
It's back. Sometimes it's crept in during the night and woken me up. Other times it comes in a conversation, or perhaps when I'm watching PBS, whether it's Downton Abbey or Globetrotter. It might be a memory from looking at a photograph or triggered by a meal I'm eating, but it's back. Mr. Toastmaster, wherever you are, and fellow Toastmasters, Wanderlust has returned, and as usual, I will respond with gusto. This time the trigger was blatant. My Tanya, the German foreign exchange student that lived with us when my Nikki was a senior in high school, has given birth to twins. And as any good grandmother should, I need to hold those babies. So Nikki and I will travel together to Germany in July and visit them in the city of Karlsruhe, which is on the west side of Germany, close to France. And of course, we'll stop in the UK to visit our old friends, many of whom have moved to new places. Danny Kaye once said that to travel is to take a journey into yourself. I've talked a lot about my travels in Toastmasters. You've all gone along with me, as from Ireland to Italy to Africa, meeting my new friends, seeing the sights, tasting the food, and learning about the cultures that I have learned about. And as I've shared those stories with you, I've hoped that in some way those stories might inspire you to travel a bit, and that I would share with you that desire to journey, and you might develop that wanderlust yourselves. But today I want to share with you just how that desire to travel developed in me and became part of my identity, my soul, and has stayed an active part of my life. When I was growing up in Catholic school, when I was in about the 4th or 5th grade, my favorite subject was geography. And as we learned about the mountains and the oceans, we also learned about the children that lived in other lands. And my favorites, I think, were Paco and Maria from Quito, Ecuador. I was fascinated with the Andes Mountains and the Incan people. But about this time, my own travels took me about as far as Annandale to a little resort that my father took us to for a week every summer. And when I went on that trip, I would take with me a stack of library books and read and read and read, and I think that is where it began. Because I wanted to go to those places I was reading about and meet those people. And by the time I was 17, when I took my first airplane ride to Washington, D.C., and then we went on to New York and Philadelphia on my class trip, I learned that I knew a lot more about my destinations than my girlfriends did. And when we moved to England in the 90s and we were walking down the street in London for the first time and I saw a sign that said Carnaby Street this way, I said, "Oh, Carnaby Street?" And my husband Bruce looked at me like, "What?" He said, "Carnaby Street, you know." Well, I think that might have had more to do with growing up in the 60s and I was paying attention and he was not. But we went to Carnaby Street, and then when we got to Leicester Square, I knew exactly what the significance of Leicester Square was because I had just finished reading Michael Caine's autobiography. And I knew that it was important in the theater district or the movie district. I recognized other things as well. And one thing I realized along the way when I first got to England was how much I enjoyed the adventure of it all. When we first told the kids we were moving to England, I started out by saying, "Kids, we're going on a giant adventure." And that adventure is where my real desire to keep up the traveling began. Now, most of you know that I work at Hoygaard's in the wintertime, and mostly I sell ski clothes. But we sell every kind of outerwear. So I have the opportunity to meet people who are going everywhere. Last week, I sold clothes to people who were going to Vietnam, to Prague, to Norway, to Iceland, to Ireland. And they all asked me, and of course I'm happy to share all of my experiences with them. And it is so much fun for me. And it just keeps it fresh in my brain. And they asked me for travel tips, and I am happy to share with them my favorite pub in Dublin, or how to get around in Paris. But more than travel tips, what I'd like to impress on you all today is that there are so many ways to travel. And to get started, you don't need to throw caution to the wind. When you read travel information sometimes, it will say, you must keep an open mind and be spontaneous and be flexible and be open to everything. And that's all excellent advice, except if you're taking that first step, that's sort of daunting advice. If you just need to book a tour, because there's lots you can learn on tours. One of my best trips abroad was my first one, and I was on a tour driving around Ireland, and I had so much fun because on this particular one they helped create that fun for us, and that was wonderful. But just get started. If you go on the internet, you'll see that there's agencies for tours and drive-and flies and hostels you can stay at or five-star hotels you can stay at, whatever your budget is. But just take the first step and you won't be disappointed. Traveling helps us to experience the interconnectedness of humanity. That's a quote from someone else and I can't remember their name, but I'm not going to take credit for it. But it is so true, and that to me is the biggest benefit of traveling. When you meet other people, you develop a tolerance for the rest of the world. And studying the cultures of other countries has taught me that people have basic similarities, and if we learn those, then we can better understand our differences. Mark Twain says that travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. And I have been in transition, as has been noted, for about a year. And the reason I want to sell my condo is that I can free up more money to travel. A coworker asked me the other day what my favorite, if I could go anywhere in the world right now, where would I go? And I had to say, there are just so many places I need to go, and it's time to get started. St. Augustine said that the world is a book, and those who do not travel have only read one page. It was reading that opened my mind to the world. And yeah, the wanderlust has returned, and I will respond with gusto. Mr. Toastmaster.